Welcome back. We are here live in downtown Vancouver. If you're watching a replay, that's fantastic. Welcome to session number 2. If you will excuse me, I am just about to get started. If you've been following so far, you are noticing some dramatic changes in your life right now. I am participating along with you. This is something that's so cool for me to be able to share with you, because not only do I get to teach this, but we as teachers, you as a teacher, will teach what you most want to learn. And I always wanted to learn how to align my life with my higher self and to manifest the life of my dreams, to live powerfully and to live a life I absolutely love. And so usually when you get started, you're not in the greatest of spaces. However, if you are following along, you will see some dramatic, you've already noticed some dramatic changes happening in your life right now, which I'm delighted about. And I couldn't dream of a better job than to guide people to their truth, to their power. And remember, the whole purpose of what we're doing is to set the intention to create a life that we absolutely love. Overwhelm, stress, anxiety, depression are all byproducts of not living powerfully in alignment with our higher self. So week 1, session 1 is all about identifying and making a declaration of what that actually is. So without further ado, let's jump right on, baby, to session number 2. All right, give me a moment here. I'll screen share what we got going on. And here we go. So what's going on? Powerfully aligned. Remember, do I have the thumbs up from my team that everything is working okay? Great. I just want to take a moment to acknowledge Alex for creating all of the back end stuff that you see. He's been a lifesaver. And I didn't realize the amount of work that goes into creating an online business, creating, a membership portal, everything, like these automated emails. I'm a newbie at this. I'm just a chiropractor moving on to a new realm of possibility for myself. And the team that I've assembled, I'm extremely proud of. And thank you, Alex. And of course, thank you to Laura and Amanda for keeping me on point, because everything that you see and you're participating in, if you're noticing dramatic changes in your life by following the work, you have a team of people to thank. So it's not just me. I'm able to run this business and to provide employment and work and inspiration and dedication for a group of people. And it's something that I see in your future too, to be able to create something that enhances the lives of others. So thank you for taking the step to become powerfully aligned. Thank you for following along and for participating. So let's get going. We're going to be talking about complaints, resentments, and regrets. This is a huge topic, because if you'll notice, when I had you fill out the forms in the beginning, I had you fill out what are your greatest resentments and regrets. Basically, what you're constantly complaining about. Whenever people come into my office, whenever people reach out to me, it's usually a complaint about something that's not working in their lives. So I'm going to teach you from this point forward how to shift your thinking about it so that you can actually take control of your body, your mind, and your entire life. So this is a great deal of fun for me. But so far, if you've been following along, you have your mission statement, you've got your affirmations, you write your daily gratitude, and at the end of the evening, evidence of my dreams manifesting in your journal. And you have a voice recording of your mission statement that you listen to every day, hopefully when you're working out, hopefully when you hit a little bit of a snag and you need a reminder of who you're being on this planet. And consider that if you're having a shitty day, consider that if things aren't going well and you're feeling that overwhelm, consider that you didn't participate in the basics, the fundamentals, the 100. I know that the days that I do are incredible. The days that I have, that I missed out on because I was traveling, because I was in a different environment, I was out of my routine, those days really sucked. So it really puts all of the emphasis and the perspective and and the onus and the responsibility in your hands. And if you've kept up so far, you've done the work, you'll notice a distinct difference between the days you choose to push through the resistance and actually do your morning rituals and the days where you don't. And those days you're actively creating, you're in that creative mode. And then what happens is you look back and you go, why would I even miss a day of creatively with intention deciding and declaring what you would love to be, do, and have in that day? It's spooky. And I had one, my clients did just recently on a session say, is it really that easy? And yes, it really is. It doesn't have to be so toiling and so challenging. It can be effortless if you set that intention. It depends on how prepared you are. So absolutely, congrats if you have been. I want you to ask yourself, what are the differences between the days when I complete my morning rituals and the days I don't? Kudos to those of you who haven't missed a day. There's a huge difference between those days. And what I'm going to get you to do is to implement this and make sure that after your daily meditation is complete, make sure you visualize not only where you'll be when you accomplish your goals, but really embody the feelings and emotions you want to feel when you get there. Set an intention for your day and for each interaction. Like, for example, before the recording of this webinar right now, I set an intention of what I would love to be for you guys. I stand for healing and transformation. So I'm putting on that suit and making sure that I'm being that for you guys, for you as a listener, for you as a viewer, because I'm 1000% clear on who I'm being and what I will do in order to be that. And then what I'd love to have in return, have clients that are more than satisfied, who are telling others about their amazing results and are enrolling others in this possibility of joining in this movement, of being powerfully aligned in their own life. Really being inspirations for other people is my intention is. So if I set that intention, I'm gonna ask that you, before work, before coming home and being with your loved ones, if there's a dinner or a holiday season or a whatever party that's happening, set an intention for that party. Set an intention for that interaction, and you become much more powerful that way. You always really want to, in critical moments, you want to ask, who am I being at this moment? And remember your mission statement. If you forget, it's on your voice recorder, and just go back to that and really get into the being of that. And when you constantly stay on top of this, your days are exceedingly fluid and effortless. And your life basically is a culmination of your days. So why not really create them? Create the way that you'd love to be, who you'd love to be for others, by the way. You'd notice in the beginning, you're complaining and you're resentful and you're regretful of all the things you're doing or not doing. And it's all about you. But as you do this, you realize that you're a stand for others. You are there to be there for other people. And so your morning actually begins the night before. This is the great secret. When you're journaling your gratitude for the day, this puts you in a proactive state. It's really neat when you look at it that way, is that your first thought in the morning is usually the last thought before bed. So it makes you conscious. This is powerfully aligning your life to a conscious state of what you'd love to create. It's really cool when you think about it in that way. So really, I want you to consider a couple things, okay? I want you to take a look at the resentments, regrets, and complaints that you wrote down in the beginning of your forms. The thing that you're most resentful for and you're complaining about, consider that complaint, even if that complaint's about yourself, even if the complaint is about your behavior towards someone else, that's a persistent complaint. Think about the thing that's consistently coming up over and over again. And I'm going to give you a little bit of an aha moment, hopefully, about what the whole idea about your complaints are really about. I want you to just take a moment and write down what you have trouble letting go of, this resentment or complaint. What is it that you notice consistently coming up over and over again? I'm going to give you a moment to really think about that, because it's important. What is it that you keep bringing up? What do you talk to others about? Do you persistently complain about your husband or your wife? Do you consistently complain about your weight? Do you consistently complain about your financial situation? What is it that you're consistently complaining about? And what do you have trouble letting go of? Is it a story of your past? Is it a victimhood? Just be honest with yourself. What is it? And the question that I have, I really want you to become aware of this. And I want to credit Werner Erhard for this, because it's through his work, Werner Erhard, through the Erhard, I forget, school training, EST, it's called EST. Back in the 70s, it was very popular in Los Angeles. This whole concept of complaints, what he called rackets, and persistent complaint, persistent state of being. His work made me aware of how important the language that we use is important. That's why I started you off right away with the affirmations. Hopefully you're catching yourself when you're talking negatively about yourself, when you're beating the crap out of yourself. We're going to be talking about that today. But why is it so important? And what he shared is that you literally create your future with the language that you choose. If you're constantly beating yourself up and you're saying, I'm a piece of crap, I'm worthless, I'm a monster, you're taking that past and you're literally creating the future with the words you're using. Even though every moment is an opportunity to create something new, you're taking that past and using language. We create our future using our language. And before I would go over to my parents' place, I would always have the persistent language of the complaint of, they don't support me. They're not supporting me. So I've taken all of the past examples that I've selectively picked that they aren't supportive of me. And then when my mother would make a comment about what I'm wearing or if I'm tired or whatever, boom, that's evidence for my complaint. And I'm basically taking that past, using the language of what I just occurred to me about my parents, and I've created a future that supports the belief that they don't. Does that make sense? So the language that I use of they don't support me, I bring in and recreate the future. So the language is so important because I create my future with the language I use. So I'm going to get into why that's so important too. So take a look at the resentments, the regrets that you've had, the ones that you shared in your intake forms for the program. And I want you to really get that a complaint is a repeated resentment combined with a persistent state of being. In other words, who are you being when you complain? Okay, when you're complaining about somebody, or you're even complaining about yourself, who are you being? Are you being inspiring, or are you being really, what's the word I'm looking for? Are you being extremely feeling of a low self-esteem? Are you being empowering, or are you being disempowering? You know, who are you being when you complain? Chances are you're going to notice, you're going to think it's a place of power, but it's a very disempowering place of being. Okay? How do you feel when you complain about yourself or others? Okay? And think, as a result of this being, what actions do you take? When you're feeling and being disempowered, do you make empowering choices? Or do you start to numb yourself? You cover up, you withdraw. What actions do you take or not take? So consider that the behavior that we all do, that the behavior that you observe in coworkers, family members, if it's not inspiring, think about what the complaint, the persistent complaint is that's causing them to be that way and to feel the way they do and to act the way they act. It is fascinating to me when you think of how all behavior is a direct result of the feelings and being that we're being because of the thoughts. In other words, the internal language we decide to use. So really take a moment when you're thinking of that complaint that you have written down. Who are you being when you share this with other people? When you go out and you're talking with your friends and you're complaining, who are you being? How are you feeling? Consider that for a moment. What actions are you taking or not taking? So we're going to talk a little bit about why we complain. So what is the payoff? What are the benefits of complaining? Why do we complain? A lot of times clients will come to me looking for a solution, but oftentimes there's a massive resistance to them finding a solution because they really want to hold on to their beliefs and complaints. Why do they want to hold on to the beliefs? Why would you want to? Why on earth would you want to actually sit there and complain and hold on to this? Well, guess what? There are 4 benefits or payoffs that we have with these resentments that we hold on to for years, okay? Here's the first one. Number 1, look at the complaint that you have that I asked you to write down. I first really, before I go into this, I really want you to participate here. Look at the greatest resentment or complaint or regret that you have, that you're constantly talking about, okay? And one that I had before was earlier this year. The complaint that I had was that the persistent complaint that I had was that, I was beating myself up because I lost track of my finances when I sold my practice. So I ended up only making a fraction of what I was, quote unquote, supposed to be making. So I was persistently complaining about myself that I'm such an idiot for losing sight of that. And I kept going on with my complaint, and it had a payoff for it. And I'll share it with you. So what is the payoff? Number 1, when you're constantly complaining, you get to avoid responsibility. It's someone else's fault. It's their fault. Okay? So when you're complaining, consider that you get to avoid responsibility. That's one of the benefits. The second one is that you get to justify where you're at. That was a justification of my sad state of where I am, is because of my complaint of, I'm such an idiot, that kind of thing. I got to justify me not moving forward with my business, me not moving forward with my personal development, with really stepping up my game of serving people. I was constantly complaining. The third one is you get to dominate the person you're whining about, if it's about somebody else, or if you have them up on a pedestal, like if I have my father up on a pedestal and I complain about how much of an a-hole he is, I get to avoid being dominated by him. And the number 4, and I have it in capitals, is you get to be right. If you're complaining about someone else, you get to be right. And that's basically the biggest payoff. So take a look at the thing that you're complaining about the most and consider that it's one of 4. So from now on, whenever you catch yourself complaining, take a look, shine the light of conscious awareness of what you get out of it. And that is a huge, it's a huge step towards clearing the complaint. Now, there's a problem with complaining. We know that there's benefits. That's why you keep doing it. Okay, so consider, shine the light of conscious awareness. And then what you want to do is to then, if you want to clear it, you got to ask yourself, what are the costs of my complaint? So what's the cost of complaining? And there are several. Okay, the first cost of complaining is you lose love and affinity with the person that you're complaining about. So if you're complaining about your brother who's an alcoholic, you can complain and you get to be right. You get to justify, you get to avoid responsibility for the lack of love between the two of you. You get to be right. And that's one of the benefits of constantly whining. But here's the problem. You lose out on love. And the interesting thing about this is that what it means to be a human being is really about the quality of our relationships and the content of our conversations in those relationships. And if we are not empowering and enrolling another human being towards something that's loving and creating affinity, we're losing out on our opportunity, because that's all we have on this planet is our relationships and the quality of the love and affinity that we have. So when you complain about somebody else, you lose out on that opportunity. And I can tell you with certainty that the complaints that I had towards my father were really, I got to be right, he got to be wrong according to my beliefs. The problem is that I lost out on a huge opportunity to love. And so when I kind of got off it and I, stepped up my game and raised the bar, I got to have the most incredible trip to Italy with my dad. And it was awesome. And I realized that for years, because of my complaint, I lost out on the love and affinity. So the cool part is I'm 41 now in the recording of this. And I have the rest of my life and his life to really keep that going. And so if you complain about somebody else or yourself, you're losing that. The second one, the cost of complaining, is you lose out on health and vitality. 100% of everybody that I've ever met in my 15-year practice with a chronic issue with their health, they had a story of suffering. They had a resentment or a complaint that they were persistently holding on to, consistently telling that story of, and lo and behold, their digestive system is shot, their reproductive organs are crap, and now they have one health issue after another they're taking pills for, and they don't realize it's tied into a story. If you've been following along properly, you've been changing the language, you've been actively doing exercises and taking control and setting an intention for your day, you are going to, and you're clearing out resentments, you will notice your health is improving this early on into this program. I'm speaking to you without a doubt. It doesn't surprise me that that's the case, because the cost of complaining is your health and vitality. Number 3, the shitty part about the complaints that you have about yourself or about other people is that you lose power, freedom, and full self-expression. You can be right, though. That's the cool part about it. You get to be right. But unfortunately, it comes at a cost. The loss of power, freedom, and full self-expression. Every single time you hear yourself complain, realize it's costing you. And the fourth one, a tragic one for me, because being funny and being, playful is a high value for me. It's a way of connecting with other human beings and making them feel comfortable, is this loss of humor that happens. So when you lose your humor, that's a sign you're holding on to a persistent complaint. So if you found yourself not really getting smiles or joy or humor or playfulness, consider that you're holding on to a resentment and regret. We're going to talk about how to clear it, but it's important first, before I teach you how to clear it, you got to know what you're getting out of the mix, the payoffs of the complaints. Problem is, it's costing you all this amazing stuff. So hopefully this gives you a different perspective whenever you open your mouth or you have a thought that's constantly about complaining. Catch yourself and realize this is what it's costing you. So look in this list, see what your complaints have been costing you. I know for a fact that your complaints about yourself have been, or others, cost you your health. Sorry, that ain't worth it to me. So let's see what we can do. So here's your commitment. You are, from this moment towards the rest of your life, because you can't really be the same person if you're consciously aware of what I just shared with you. I want you to pay attention to your thoughts. They are either expanding you and others, or contracting you and others. It's your choice at every given moment. Next session, I'm going to teach you how to regain your power when you've lost it because of a persistent complaint. But first and foremost, I just want you to really become aware and consider how much of the language that you're using towards yourself is designed to enroll other people into a greater possibility for themselves and others in an inspiring way, or it's cutting you down and contracting you and them. That choice of who you'd love to be at any given moment. This awareness, when I became aware of this, thanks to Werner Erhard's work, it shut me up every time I have a thought about somebody, every time I'm about to go to my parents' house or about to call them. My decision, I've set an intention that I'm only going to see them as the highest versions of themselves, see myself as the highest version of me, and to enroll them and create something that's playful, that's fun, that expands them and be of service. So this week, I'm going to get you to hold on to it and go into the group page and write down your observations and what you became present to about this, and really be conscious of this whole week. What are your thoughts? Are they expanding you, expanding other people so they can see a big version of themselves? Or are they contracting you? It's your choice. One of the greatest kind of awarenesses that I gave one of my clients this week when she was just beating herself up, I asked her, I said, how would you feel if your son talking to himself the way you were talking to yourself? And she said, I would completely share with him how not true that is. I said, exactly. So really think about it that way. Children to think about themselves most. If they were to think about themselves that way, you'd want to correct them, right? Consider doing the same thing to you, towards yourself, and commit to paying attention to your thoughts. And your future is literally created by the language you choose. So really pay attention to what you're saying, your thoughts of complaint, your speech, your language, and create what you'd love using your language, and choose it. Choose creative and enrolling and expanding rather than contracting. Commit to awareness of making the shift. So use empowering language to connect, to create the future you desire. And be sure to write in your journal, even the crappy stuff. Write it out and then look at it and then switch the language. So as you dump out all of your negative thoughts, even in your journal, don't only just be positive, tell the truth, and then switch it up. It's pretty awesome when you realize how powerful you are to create your future. Now, what do we usually create? We create consider that you're creating, before this course, you were creating a future based on the resentments and regrets that you had in your life, that you're either thinking of them consciously or they're unconscious. So how are we going to do that? That's why I created the overview method. The overview method is a shortcut that to a resentment and a regret and transforms it instantly by identifying your early triggers of those resentments and regrets. And I have in the members area me doing overview sessions. This is what I do one-on-one sessions with people when we go delving into the resentments and regrets. These are difficult to do on your own, especially when they're very traumatic and it's a belief that's been repeated over and over and over again. So that first one, you might need assistance from the outside to take something really you've been through and dissolve it. But that's the job that me and the coaches have working with the individual on your first session. Is we go after the biggest resentment and regret together. Could be a divorce, could be some sort of a judgment that you have on yourself. So usually that biggest one you're going to need assistance with. And when you do dissolve it, it's an earth-shattering realization. Because what happens is we go back to an early memory and we completely overturn it and realize that your belief and language you're using was complete BS. It wasn't true. And it's actually life-changing. And it's a little unsettling for some people at first. So it's okay if your first ever overview is unsettling. It's very common. That's a little warning, trigger warning that I have, is that you're gonna have some unsettling happen when a belief that you had about the language you're choosing, about the way something in your past was occurring to you, is actually false. So if you haven't had one done, that's okay. It's my commitment to you that we get to clearing your greatest resentments and regrets over this period of time that we're working together. That will be the key factor in you connecting to your vision, mission, purpose, and being powerfully aligned means being grateful for your journey, even with what you did or didn't do. So let's try this right now. So write down the greatest resentment or regrets happening in your life right now. So you should have a list that we started with in this whole process. You have it in front of you, and together we work on clearing the biggest ones. But let's do it right now. I want to show you how to overview. Eventually you're going to get good at this. Some of you are going to be inspired and you'd love to learn and take the training in how to become a facilitator of this, because it's pretty earth-shattering when you transform somebody else. And don't be surprised if you start to have a desire to want to be able to make a difference in someone else's life. And the good news is that if that's you and you're called on that spiritual mission to be able to step up and raise your bar and do that, there's definitely an opportunity for you to do that after this course is done, to step up your game and become a facilitator. So let me show you how we do it. So write down the greatest resentment and regret. And by the way, it's so inspiring to me that I pretty much walked away from $1 million chiropractic practice. I was making a crap ton of money adjusting people exclusively. And I pretty much walked away from that so that I can do what I'm doing right now. It's so transformative. So let me show you what the process kind of looks like. So write down your greatest resentment or regret happening in your life right now. And remember that concept of duality. Let's go back to it. This whole concept of yin and yang, that in every shadow, there's a light. And in every darkness, there's a light. In every light, there's a darkness. So there's this concept of duality. Hopefully you've been able to see it. If you've been following along properly, you've seen every time you've had support, you've had challenge simultaneously. That's kind of spooky. Every time you've had a pride about something, you've had a shame. Every time you feel this elation of happiness, boom, you become present to this kind of overriding sadness that's there. And that's just the mystery of life. Gratitude and love equals the combination of the duality, the polar opposites, this whole dualistic nature, this mystery, this universal intelligence that always has both of us, has both in the mix. And so that's really what I want you to consistently be present to. There is a duality, a positive and a negative happening simultaneously in every moment. Like right now, you have joy and you have pain. You'll notice some great things happening in your life with these changes, but then you might notice an ache or a pain, like one of my clients has been experiencing these dramatic shifts, relationships improving, employment happens, and then boom, you have physical pain. That's what's happening with me. This whole beautifully, people are getting amazing results. Enrollments are happening. I'm back in practice, not because I need money, but because I just absolutely love adjusting people in a little clinic just a couple blocks away that just fell into my lap. It's just been an incredible experience, but simultaneously I injured myself while I was working out, and now I have a back pain. So I'm very present to a pleasure and a pain happening simultaneously. When you're in overview, you're observing both sides. So really be present to both sides. Now, when you have a resentment and a regret, I'm just going to step back for a moment. I don't want you to be distracted. It happens, you can't have a resentment and a regret without a should. What happened should have been something different. So there's a website or a book that's called Reasons Why My Kid is Crying. This genius took a picture of this kid who had a meltdown, took a photograph, and then turned around and wrote down the specific reason why that kid was crying. So it's a website. You should look it up. You should, quote unquote, look it up. And what happens is, it's a perfect illustration of why stress happens, why we have resentment, regrets, and complaints, because the way things are happening should have been different than the way they're happening. So these are called delusions, and there's several delusions that I'm going to go over in just a second, but I want you to see this kid having a meltdown, and the parent wrote down exactly why they had the meltdown. And the meltdown is because he didn't want to share his leg hole. If you can look there, she has shared with his leg hole. And it's interesting because it's not what's happening to us, but our perception or our expectation. In this case, what I call a delusion that's creating the stress. So the fact that he doesn't have his own leg hole is not what's creating stress in his life. Because if you take a look at her pretty cute little face, she doesn't give a crap about the fact that she's sharing a leg hole. She doesn't live with the delusion that she should have her own leg hole, where he lives with that delusion. And because he lives with that delusion or expectation, look at his stress. So consider that the going through, the resentment that you're feeling, the regret that you have is because, not because of what happened, but it's because of the belief that it should have been different. Okay? So in observation, thanks to my mentor, Dr. John Demartini, I've learned that there are 7 primary delusions that we have. So I want you to take a look at the list of resentments that you have and look at the biggest resentment. Okay, let's go over the biggest resentment that you have, whether it's towards somebody else or towards yourself or both. Just take a look at some of those resentments and let's see what category it falls under. Okay, let's take a look. So these are the delusions. Okay, delusion number 1, it's about another person. Positive, nice, supportive, happy, kind, calm, peaceful, caring, functioning properly, healthy. So they should always be that way. And when they're not, I get angry. I feel blamed. I criticize either myself or the other person. And there comes drama, not because of what's happening, but because of the delusion or the expectation or the should, that they should always be one-sided. In a two-sided world, remember the yin and yang, we always have positive and negative. But they, if I have the belief or the expectation that they should always be positive, when the negative shows up or their shadow shows up or they're not supportive, like my dad, he should always be supportive. When he isn't, then I get angry. I'm like that little kid. I'm like this kid right here. I'm like the guy on the right. When I have the belief that he should always be positive, nice, support. When I remove that belief, I'm more resilient to what's happening in front of me. Does that make sense? Number 2, they should always see and do things my way and be attentive to my needs and priorities. In a life where they have their own mission, they have their own values, they should actually see things my way and adopt my values. So that's a delusion, because if they don't follow this delusion, then I get angry, I get pissed off. Interesting, huh? So if you look at your resentments or regrets and it's about another person, it's usually one of those 2. So it's usually 1 or 2, or delusion number 3 is a combination of 1 or 2. So it's an expectation that we have on another person that when it's not met, we get angry, we get pissed off. So the question is, do we not have expectations on other people? Should we not expect anything? That's usually what you might be thinking. The answer to that is, all you can expect for others is that they're going to be two-sided, and they're a human being with a set of values. When their values are supported, they get happy and positive. When their values are being challenged, they get sad. They get pissed off. They get challenging. That's it. My father should not be supportive of me if he perceives that what I'm doing goes against his values. And once I saw that that's true, then when he was challenging me, I didn't have to change myself or him. I just understood that that's how it is from an overview perspective. And I was able to be more resilient, and I didn't feel resentment. I just felt appreciation. Does that make sense? So delusion number 4 happens when you target the should towards yourself. In other words, I should always be positive. I should always be nice, supportive, happy, kind, calm. I should always be peaceful. I should always be caring with other people, functioning properly. I should be healthy. I shouldn't get triggered. I should always be a nice person. I'm always trying to be nice, be positive. Well, guess what? You are a light and a shadow. You're just as much of a sweetheart as you are an asshole. Pardon my language, but that's the truth. When you perceive that your values are being supported, then you feel positive side. When you perceive that your values are being challenged, you're on the negative side. That's just how it is. And number 5 is the belief, the delusion that I should always be seeing things and doing things according to the way that they're seeing or doing it and attending to them first. In other words, my values are crap. I'm judging my whole life based on seeing my values as being wrong, and and the other person's values are being right. This past summer, when I was at my lowest of my low, after I got hit hard with the financial reality of what happened during the sale of my practice, immediately I went into delusion number 5. I started judging my life. Oh my gosh, I shouldn't have gotten the divorce when I did, when it was the perfect decision at the time. I should have kids right now. I started comparing my life to my twin brother, who's got this big, beautiful home in West Vancouver. He stayed true to his own career. He didn't take a risk and leave his high volume, high producing dental practice to pursue this silly little dream of transforming people the way that I did. I should have stayed the course of my chiropractic. I should have stayed married and in my chiropractic practice and just been happy with what I had. In other words, I was delusional because I was judging my values as being wrong. And that was the major cause of my resentment, regret, and, dare I say it, suicidal depression. These number 4 and 5, the delusion number 4 and 5 are major causes of depression, because you're not only judging yourself for not being happy, positive, powerful, all that positive side, but now you're also judging yourself because you think that you should be living according to another person's values. It wasn't until I went away and I reconnected with my voice where I realized, no, my values are absolutely right. Every choice I made was exactly right for me. And I was regaining my power. I had access to power. Now that's delusion number 6. Delusion number 7 just so happens to be a combination of every single one. When you have unrealistic expectations on other people to be one-sided and living according to your values, you get angry and depressed and resentful and regretful, and you start complaining about them. When you expect yourself to live outside of your values and just to be one-sided and positive, happy, peaceful all the time, when you're a two-sided being with a shadow, a saint and a sinner, a light and a shadow, when you expect the one side, when you have two, then guess what? You have paralyzing anxiety and depression. So it's very wise for you to look at the regrets that you have, that you've written down, and ask yourself, which delusion was I living under? Because what ends up happening is, because of that delusion that you have, your next step is the interpretation / feelings about your resentment and regret. So what happens is something happens, okay? It happens, should be something else, and then you turn around and you make an interpretation. So whenever an event occurs, the event itself doesn't have the power to cause us stress, distress, or depression, kind of like that kid in the buggy who thinks he should have his own leg hole. These feelings are caused by the story or the meaning we create out of it. The problem is the story becomes the new belief that we then use to gather evidence that supports this belief. My parents are unsupportive. Guess what? In a world with a billion bits of information coming at you, you're going to look for things that support your belief. If you're constantly looking for evidence that you're a piece of crap, you will look around you. You'll find evidence of that. But if you've changed the script, if you've been following along, you've been affirming different things about who you are, you're noticing different amazing things about who you are as well. You have both sides. So why not cause a delusion that slants you into power, into powerful alignment? That's what's been working. It's really that simple. It's a daily practice. It's like mentally working out your mental muscles. In fact, when you do your exercise, I highly recommend that you use that time to exercise your mind towards the positive slant of affirmations of who you love to be, not just happy, positive, but powerful. I am a master speaker. I am a master healer. I am a loving son. I am a cool uncle. You know what I mean? Just consistently be repeating that. So back to interpretation. The interesting thing is that this belief and interpretation becomes the voice of your dark passenger. Now, we're going to talk a little bit more about this in upcoming modules, how to love that dark passenger. Who is your dark passenger? Your dark passenger has been your inner critic all your life that's been trying to beat the shit out of yourself for thinking that you're not worthy of love because of specific events that have happened. So in other words, the event happens and you turn around and you make an interpretation about yourself. Like, let me give you an example. You get dumped at the high school prom. You get fired by your job. You go through a divorce. You have an affair. Because of that, you create a story out of it, and that story, that belief that it should have gone differently based on those delusions. And then you make an interpretation about it. And these interpretations basically are the voice of your dark passenger. Tell me if any of these sound familiar to you. I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy of love. I'm stupid. I'm going to fail. I'm a failure. That's another one I forgot to put up there. I'm a failure. I'm weak. I will never measure up. I'll never make it. I'm a failure. I'm a piece of crap. I'm a horrible person. I'm a bad human being. These are the ones that we keep on going back to. Now, this is your inner critic. And it comes out as a result of the delusions, of the belief that it should have happened differently, is what the overview method's all about. Identifying in the scene what's happening in your greatest resentment, what's the belief that it should have happened, and based on that, look at your resentments. Which one of these are coming up for you? I'm not enough. Take a look. Take a look at the greatest resentment, the greatest regret that you have. I'm going to show you how to clear this. This is the power. This is how you gain access to your power, is by seeing the duality. So what happens is you see your dark in that moment. Now, because of what's happening in this stressful resentment, I want you to go back to what's called the pre-ality scene. Okay, this is what we call the pre-ality. So the reality is what you see as stressful, as what you're resentful about. It could be something that's happened recently, okay? Or it could be something that happened a few years ago. But what we do is we identify, because of that, we identify the delusion from that resentment. In other words, what should have been different. Then you identify the belief. In other words, the I'm not enough, the interpretation. Then from here, you're going to go back to the earliest scene that you can remember, feeling and interpreting the way you are in your current reality. Now, if you're having a problem doing this, don't worry, ask the coaches, one of the coaches in the Facebook group. But this is essentially, you're going to get good at doing this. When we work together one-on-one, this is what I'm getting you to do. I say, based on this that's happening, what are you making it about? What meaning are you making it about? I'm not good enough. I'm stupid. I'm not worthy of love. Good. Go back to your earliest memory. And this is where your primitive relationships, mother, father, preacher, teacher, this is where your early complaints. My mother never loved me. My father was a monster. My mother was a bipolar, raving alcoholic. That complaint that you keep going, that's happening right now, is an earlier unresolved, untriggered event. So this pre-ality scene is an earlier complaint that's tied into your current complaint. It's always tied together. So find the earliest scene. So it could be a scene where your father was being an alcoholic and he was, angry with you. It could be an early fight. Could be the moment your parents let you know they're getting a divorce. Whatever story that you have about your past, you can find a scene and an age. Look at the age of when it happened and write that down. And what you do, and you can see this, by the way, in the members area, I have in the overview method home study program, some sessions, some live sessions that were recorded, that were actually true sessions. They're not actors, of people going through their pre-ality scenes, and where I get them to find the exact opposite. So go to that moment, earlier memory, where you felt weak, where you felt stupid, and find where you felt strong in another area, and sit there and feel it. Be in it and feel it. When we do our one-on-one sessions, I get you to find where it is. Don't judge where the new form is in. And then the next part is you find the benefits of that scene to your life. Did it make you more humble? Did it make you more resilient? And then what you want to do is tie it into your highest values and mission right now. And you'll see that the greatest resentments and regrets from your past were the stepping stone of your superpowers. If you look carefully, 100 times out of 100, it created a void in your life, which created your values, which are your superpowers. So if you look carefully, and you tell the truth, You find the benefits of that scene to your life. It involves you letting go of ego, letting go of your desire to be right, understanding that your complaint has more of a cost than a benefit, and wanting to see the other side. You have to let go and really look and find the benefits were, and what the benefits were, and then ask yourself what the drawbacks to your current life, if that scene went the way you think it should have. So in other words, the drawbacks of the fantasy of that scene. Oh, if only everything went perfect. So take a moment right now and pause this and look at that earlier scene, find the duality of it. What was the positive? So what was the negative where I'm stupid? Find where you were smart. The fact that you weren't enough, that you were not good, they always made me feel like I wasn't good enough. Go and feel that not good enough and ask yourself, where did you feel superior? Guaranteed it was there. Promise you it was there. So look and find it. Then the last part is find the benefits. What was the benefit of being beat down? What was the benefit of having them not supporting you? What was the benefit of being outcasted or bullied? How did it serve you? How did it serve in your characteristics, in the way that you deal with other people? Don't just say, oh, it made me the opposite. No. Look carefully. What was the benefit? How did it serve? And then look at your vision, mission statement of who you're being, who you're constantly aiming to be. And you'll find that those experiences created the void, which created the value and superpower that you have. And it's super duper important. So what you're going to do is to keep going. You want to repeat this process for everything you see on the list of regrets and resentments. You want to make sure that you have at least 20 to 30 to up to 50 benefits of those seemingly terrible things that you resent or regret, and see how they're on the way rather than in the way. So, the commitment that I have to you is that we're going to take everything that you are really resenting and regretting in your life, and you're going to actually work towards clearing it. And, bring it up. If you're having problems, get accountability, find somebody in the group, really be ready during our sessions and say, really, I want to clear this. And you will do it if you see that the cost of holding on to that complaint is greater than the actual letting go. You will work towards seeing the other side. I had one client, he's experiencing a great deal of stress from Donald Trump being kind of elected into power as the president. And so he truly was actually having a lot of stress and distress and resentment about it. So I actually had him in his homework write a list of 50 benefits to the world of Donald Trump becoming president. And he had a tough time. And I know that you might be thinking, oh, there aren't any if you're on the liberal side, or you get offended by some of the antics that he's done. I understand and I get that. But there's equal amount of benefits and drawbacks to everything. And so it's really up to us to do the work to find the other side. So you want to take a list of your regrets and resentments, and let's make a commitment to clearing each of those that you think are in the way, changing them to seeing how they're on the way towards your mission and vision. Why does that benefit you? Because you're going to regain your power, your freedom, and your full self-expression. You feel lighter. The resentments that you have towards yourself and others are like it's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. So clearing those is critical for you. And why is this so important? I just want to remind you to guard your mindset and language. Switch your complaints instantly towards where you'd love to be. Shine the light of conscious awareness. Go, oh, what am I complaining? Oh my God, I'm trying to be right again. And then realize the cost of that complaint, and then switch the language. For example, my dad loves and supports me is a loving and supporting father. Every time I have this belief that he is against me, instantly I shift towards where I'd love to be. My father is loving and supporting. I am loving and supporting of my father. You know what I mean? So I am a loving son. I love unconditionally. So you just switch it. Catch yourself now and switch it. You're going to unconsciously get better and better at this as you keep practicing. And I want you to use every opportunity you have to envision what you love. Today I was in the shower and I was imagining this new place that I'm going to be moving into. I'm imagining all the people from around the world who are going to be coming to seminars that I'm going to be hosting in my new place, that are going to be retreats for couples, for individuals, these masterminds, this stuff that I'm imagining in my mind that I'd love to create. For example, a mastermind in Italy. All I could do when I was there this past week was just imagine groups of people coming and learning throughout the day, and then we go do excursions and break bread in the evening while we create and craft our ideal lives of what we'd love to be, do, and have in terms of service to other people, and what we'd love to receive. And this group of individuals of people who are high consciousness, that are game changers, that are change makers in the world, that want to make a splash on the planet and a dent in the universe, that I have as my social network and my friends, that we are in exotic locations around the world, around the world, and we're co-creating together. Do it when you're brushing your teeth. Do it when you're working out. Do it when you're at the bus stop. Do it when you're driving to work. Take that time. Whenever I'm working out, I want you to consider your physical workouts a time for your mental workout. Guard your mindset and really work those out during those times. In the shower, in your commute, in between times, you sit down and you envision what you'd love, and you affirm what you love, and you say thank you in advance as it's on its way. You are feeling the gratitude for it as though it's already there. I promise you, it has the most incredible effect. And if you just only get that from this course, you will be heaps ahead of where you were starting off. It's just really all about the accountability. I am going to fight hard to get you to hold that mindset. I'm going to hold you accountable to that. And so just going to remind you to use every opportunity to envision what you love. What your intention is to create. Remember, use your language to create. Use those affirmations. So that's really what I want to leave you with. And really consider this, that you are much bigger than you saw yourself at the beginning of this course. And that every opportunity that you have, whether you're doing it online, whether you're creating art, whether you're creating music, whether you're sharing, you're a tour guide in a church, whether you are working as a Starbucks barista, whether you are a nutritionist, whether you're a chiropractor, whoever you are, whatever you're a wellness individual, that you contribute to every space that you enter. That's who you stand for, because that's what your mission is. We forget, but that's what being powerfully aligned is all about. And so even with your lover, with your friend, with your partner, that you're there to contribute. And so I want to leave you with that, and to share that with you, and just to really let you know how much I appreciate you, and how constantly I'm thinking about you, your growth, and hoping that you are doing the work along with me. And I notice that when I do stay true to the rituals, that things just fall into place for me. And whether it's clients, whether it's business, whether it's my health and the way that I feel, I've been dealing with a back issue, for example. Recently, like I said, I've been working out, and I was squatting, and then I tweaked my lower back, and I felt this twinge, and I know what it is. It's my disc. And so when I get up, I'm like, I find myself going, oh my God, my back is killing me. Immediately, I stop, and then using the language, I create a different reality. My back is healing wonderfully. It is moving with the greatest of ease. My spine moves with the greatest of ease. And I'm affirming that, even though it's not true at this time. Thank you, God, for this spine that's moving with the greatest of ease. And then I take the action steps. I'm going to visit my chiropractor. I have a chiropractor, different locations. I have a friend who is, I call him up. Oh my God, I need to get adjusted. I'm staying true with my chiropractic visits. I went and did yoga today. So you still have to take action steps towards that, but you're affirming from your reality, which you don't want, towards the focus of exactly what it is that you want each and every day, from your finances to the love and affinity of the social network that you have around you, to attracting the partner that you'd love to have, all of those things, to feeling better, to having aches and pains move. Thank you to my spine for the greatest of ease of fluidity of movement that I feel at this time. Thank you. And you're actually affirming it consistently. I promise you that's going to make a huge impact. So I'm going to remind you and beat it in your head, this whole concept of guarding your mindset and really using your language to create your future. And consider that the interactions you have with others and the language you use in your interactions with others is actually creative. So what is it that you'd love to be creating? And consider what that is and get to work and apply and implement and execute, and you're going to see huge differences. I love and appreciate you. Please give feedback in the group of what you thought, what your takeaways were, and I look forward to the following week where we're going to talk a little bit more about restoring integrity. We're going to talk about resentments and complaints a little bit more, do some review, and hopefully if you have any questions or feedback, please go into the Facebook group or send me an email, and I look forward to responding to you. Thank you all, and I look forward to seeing you at the next perfect time.